Yo, how's it going? We all know the top of the NBA draft is a hit or miss every single season. You have some guys who become superstars, some guys who barely live up to their expectations, and others who flat out looked awful right when they came in. In this video, I want to take a look at the most disappointing top 5 draft picks from 2015 to 2021. I know some guys are still very young and there's still plenty of time to grow, but this video is based on how they are right now and how their careers have progressed so far. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and without further ado, let's get started. 2015 Jahlil Okafor. I think this was a toss-up between either Okafor or Mario Hezonja, but in terms of pure disappointment, in terms of not living up to anywhere close to what we expected, Okafor takes the cake. Unlike Mario Hezonja, Okafor was once considered the unanimous #1 high school prospect in the nation back in 2014. Scout.com, Rivals.com, ESPN, they all ranked him as the best prospect in the world. Everything about him screamed the next great star, the next great big man. And you know what? He continued his dominance right through college as well, which confirmed everyone's belief that he was the real deal. As a freshman, he won ACC Player of the Year and led Duke to the NCAA championship. Okafor eventually got selected as the 3rd pick of the draft by the Sixers. Some people blame his situation for his lack of success. I mean, he got drafted to a team that was literally trying to lose on purpose. However, after a few years went by, it was quite obvious that Okafor was not fit for the modern NBA. He came with the expectations of being a dominant interior presence, the next great post-up big man. Instead, he was more like Enes Kanter, but worse at rebounding, and even worse at defense, if that's even possible. Any slow-footed big man who puts in zero effort on defense, they won't stay in the league for long. It wasn't just that either. Okafor struggled to stay in shape and wasn't motivated at all to improve. That's a horrible combination. Okafor still managed to stay in the NBA for about 6 seasons because teams were still hoping he could change. It never happened, and as of this video, he's been out of the NBA. 2016 Dragon Bender. Besides having one of the greatest names of all time, he didn't really do much else. Bender was relatively unknown among the American fanbase, as he didn't play in any US college. Previously, he played in Croatia and Israel before getting drafted with the 4th pick. At the time, the Suns desperately needed a young big man to complement their backcourt-heavy offense. Bender was considered the most versatile big man of the class, and the only big man who got drafted in the top 5. Prior to coming into the NBA, his skill set was very desirable as a modern big man. He could shoot, he had decent handles, he can run the floor and finish pick and rolls. Plus, he had great court vision, which is quite common among centers from Europe. However, almost immediately, it was clear that 19-year-old Bender was not ready for the NBA. None of his skills came to fruition. Well, I guess he played the role of a stretch 4 to a little bit of success, but not enough. He was very lanky for a 7-footer and could not handle the physicality and raw athleticism of his peers. Bender's footwork and ball handling proved to be ineffective, as most defenders were way too fast and strong for him. By the age of 22, in just 4 short seasons, Bender fell out of the NBA and returned back to Israel. 2017 Josh Jackson. I think the difference between Markelle Fultz and Josh Jackson is their mentality. Fultz, despite the nerve damage and the torn ACL, he's still trying to come back. He's worked his tail off to improve, and prior to his knee injury, he actually looked decent in Orlando. Whereas Josh Jackson, he just hasn't improved at all since his rookie season. Instead, he fell into basketball purgatory, warming the end of the bench on the Sacramento Kings. If the Kings, a team that isn't even in the playoff race, has no use for him, where else will he go? Not to mention, he's had a plethora of off-court issues. It's gotten to the point where teams look at him as a head case. Is he even worth the risk anymore? For a guy who was once ranked as the #1 high school prospect in the nation back in 2016, Jackson has fallen off on hard times. Much of it was his own fault. He even spent time in the G League during his stint in Memphis. That's unheard of for a top 5 pick so early into his career. People blame the Suns for making this pick, but with Jackson's skill set, had he developed, he truly could have been a fantastic running mate with Devin Booker. They drafted a superb athlete who can flourish off the ball, with the instincts to constantly move and defend anyone he's up against. The Suns needed a wing player who fills that role, kinda like Shawn Marion back in the day. Jackson was supposed to be the new Shawn Marion in Phoenix. Sadly, at this point of his career, at the very best, maybe he can crack the rotation on some bottom-dwelling team. 2018 Marvin Bagley. You know, it was actually a toss-up between Bagley and Jackson. If I made this video a few years ago, I'd say Bagley was clearly the most disappointing top 5 pick. However, Jaren Jackson, after he returned from his knee injury, he has not looked the same, especially his offense. He dropped off severely. With Bagley, the sample size is small, but after his trade to Detroit, he actually looked quite good. Still, in terms of overall disappointment, it has to be Bagley, just for the fact that the Kings had the chance to take Doncic. In fact, Vlade Divac and the Kings brass were mulling over the decision to draft Doncic. That's what hurts the most. They thought about it for such a long time, but still pulled the trigger on the wrong guy. The good news is, unlike the previous 3 guys on this list, there's still hope for Bagley. He's not out of the NBA, he's not a bench warmer. He just averaged the most minutes per game of his career on the Pistons. There's a small sliver of light at the end of the tunnel, but perhaps, maybe Bagley could reach it. 2019 RJ Barrett. It's sad for me to admit that RJ Barrett has been kinda iffy. I was talking to someone the other day and they said that Barrett's career projection is looking like Andrew Wiggins, an inefficient chucker who doesn't do much else. I don't want to believe this comparison is true, but after his 3rd season, I'm starting to think, wow, it might be this way. Don't get me wrong, Barrett had some fantastic games. Now and then he'd pop off for 30 points and lead the Knicks to victory. But most of the time, it's not like that. Usually, he takes a metric buttload of shots and scores fewer points than the number of shots he takes. Games of like 6 for 20, 7 for 21, 8 for 25, plus his shoddy free throw percentage, he just hasn't figured it out yet. While he's been scoring more, his shot selection doesn't look much better than his rookie season. The rest of the 2019 top 5 has looked great. Morant has been fantastic, Garland broke out into a star, Zion, well, he's great when he's healthy, and there's also DeAndre Hunter, which I also considered putting here. His knee injury slowed down his progress, but he looked very good in the playoffs. Hunter is more of a secondary option, but still, in my opinion, he has a brighter future than Barrett right now. 2020. Okay, so now we're in the territory of like, it's too early to make a judgment on any of these guys. But in the spirit of this video, I'm gonna base this off what they've accomplished so far. For the 2020 class, the most disappointing top 5 pick is James Wiseman. I know he's been injured his entire sophomore year, but based on his rookie season, the Warriors were awful whenever he was on the court. According to PBP stats, in the 836 minutes Wiseman played, the Warriors had a net rating of -9.8. In the 1,036 minutes he was on the bench, the team was only a -0.08. The sample size is small as he only played 39 games in his rookie year, but he didn't look like he was a great fit. The Warriors have had a certain style of play that's been proven to be successful, and Wiseman is more of a traditional pick-and-roll center. At least that's what they tried to make him into. It's gonna take a while for him to adjust to the system. I forgot to mention, he essentially didn't play any organized basketball for a year and a half prior to entering the NBA. It was a disappointing rookie season, but there's still a lot to look forward to. The fact that he got drafted to such a great organization with a well-oiled machine, that's already such a blessing. There's no rush, as Steve Kerr stated. I think it's just all part of the process, and no matter how we look at it, James just needs time. He's going to need a summer league and a training camp next year, and he's going to grow, he's going to get better and better, and he's going to be a great player. But we just can't force the issue. That's the great thing about getting drafted to a championship team. Wiseman can develop at his own pace as there's no pressure for him to immediately become a star. 2021. Now, who had the worst rookie season? I guess Jaylen Suggs? I don't know what else to put here because the other 4 guys in the top 5 simply had better rookie seasons, much better, while Suggs really struggled. His pre-draft comparison was a Jason Kidd / De'Aaron Fox hybrid, but it looks like he got the worst qualities of both of them. Suggs has the shooting of a young Jason Kidd and the undisciplined manner of a young De'Aaron Fox. He had a hard time scoring from pretty much everywhere that wasn't right at the basket. He also routinely would get stuck in situations where he just doesn't know what to do, so he ends up with a turnover. His 18.7% turnover rate is horrible. That means nearly 1/5 of the time he has the ball, he turns it over. Suggs averages 3 turnovers a game with just 4.4 assists. So many forced shots, so many forced passes, nothing looked good in his rookie year. In college, he was known to be a feisty defender, but his short wingspan kinda limits him in that regard. Plus, nowadays, point guards are getting bigger, so he doesn't have the size or strength advantage he thought he'd have. Still, it's far too early to predict how this 2021 class would go, but compared to the others, Suggs' rookie season was a disaster. Anyway, that's all folks. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you agree with me that all these guys are the most disappointing top 5 pick of their class? If not, who do you disagree with? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.